What's up, everybody? This your boy Charles Wells, the host of SWACtalk, coming at you with another video for this YouTube thing. Before we get started, I'd like to do a little bit of housekeeping. Go ahead and drop all the information about all my stuff that I have going on. Facebook.com/SWACtalk, Twitter.com/SWACtalk76, Instagram.com/SWACtalk. The show SWACtalk itself is uploaded on Wednesdays and Sundays. Obviously, you can listen to it anytime you want, but it's always uploaded on Wednesdays and Sundays on the Anchor.fm app. So that's Anchor.fm/SWACtalk. The show can be heard on Spotify, Stitcher, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, you name it, it's there. You want to check out any old audio clips and shows, they're there. I've been doing this for a minute, so you can go back 2017, 2018, 2019 and get a lot of that. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, I do have, last summer I did a SWAC all decade team for the 2010s, and then I did a top 25 games of the 2019 season. So that's something that, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can go back and check that out. But you're here now, so if you're here now and you subscribed already, then I thank you very much. If not, man, what you waiting for? Come on, subscribe to the channel, man. Check me out all the time. Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified on any time I upload content on here. I'm gonna be uploading stuff probably 2 or 3 times a week on here, so check it out, man. Got a lot of stuff, all SWAC all the time. So with that being said, I want to talk today about rivalries, SWAC rivalries. And if there's one thing that the SWAC knows how to do, that's a rivalry. And I'm not even talking about all the pageantry, the bands and all of that stuff. I'm just saying, like, when you look at two teams that get together that don't like each other, it's there. You have that. Then you have those familial type rivalries where it's like it's a family atmosphere where we come together to play a game. And then you got those competitive rivalries that, you in the way of me getting to my goal, and we always seem to bump heads in the season, and that's that. But we're going to start off with the big rivalries, the state rivalries. The Florida Classic is the new one. Bethune-Cookman and FAMU coming into the SWAC from the MEAC. They're bringing a huge rivalry with them. I've been fortunate to go to Florida Classic at least 2 or 3 times during my stint in Florida. 70,000 plus, hype bands, trash talking, those rattlers, man, they bring it with the trash talk. But Bethune-Cookman, they had the upper hand recently. I think they won like 8 or 9 in a row. So on the field, Bethune-Cookman has had it going on. But that's a deep-rooted, deep-seated, bad blood rivalry. People friends outside the stadium, but in there is all about the orange and green and the maroon and gold. So when them two teams hook up, it's a thing. It's a thing to see. One thing I do miss is Alvin Wyatt, man, the coach of Bethune-Cookman. If you haven't seen him, he was the former coach of Bethune-Cookman. He used to wear these old Steve Harvey type outfits and be sharp to death on the sideline, man. I'm talking about the linen suit with the BCC, because they were Bethune-Cookman College at that point, with the BCC down the front of it. And I mean, you couldn't tell him he wasn't sharp. He had the Steve Harvey lineup, the big thick mustache like the Whispers, and he was fresh to death. But he coached his butt off and helped turn the Bethune-Cookman program around. But those are two teams that hook up every year in November, usually the second or last weekend in November. And that's coming to the SWAC. So please pay attention to that rivalry. If you have a chance to go, I definitely suggest you go. It ain't nothing like it. Let's move a little bit west from there, west and north, I guess you could say, to Birmingham, Alabama, which is the home of the Magic City Classic, which is going to be played on Saturday since we're in the COVID season. But typically that's a mid-season type game. But it don't lack no intensity like those late season rivalry games. They bring it. Them two Alabama teams, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Man, they bump heads. Them Hornets and Bulldogs, no matter what the sport is, it's a gathering, man, and it's hype. And both teams do not like each other. And now you have Connell Maynard and Coach Donald Hill Ely. They're really good friends, but they talk trash back and forth, and they've already been going back and forth on Monday. And this is in the spring, so you know what it's like in the fall. It's definitely coming with a lot of heat, and this is a rivalry that's been coming up in the attendance ranks because for a long time, Alabama A&M was Division II up until 1998. So that was a game that was still a huge matchup, and now it's a East Division matchup. A lot of times in the middle of the season, division races are kind of hanging on the balance. This year, this game is most likely going to decide the East Division, so you don't get no better than that. I suggest you attend any of these games if you can. If you have, then you know what I'm saying. If you haven't, man, go and check them out. But this was a game. I heard. I haven't been to one of these, but I've heard 100,000 people out in the parking lot at Legion Field, which I don't really like that stadium, but that's another topic. But tons of people out tailgating, riding around the cars, everything, man. It's just an atmosphere that's just totally unreal. All right, we're gonna hop on another state over to Mississippi, aka the SIP. Now there's 3 teams in the state. Valley kind of do their own thing. They not really, they're a little bit further away from the other 2 teams, and they not always on par. But they have, obviously a rivalry with both schools. But it's nothing like Alcorn and Jackson. Those 2 teams hook up for a long time. They used to call it the Soul Bowl. That's what I still love to call it. That they just started calling it the Capital City Classic because they started playing it in Jackson every year. But now it's back. It's a home and home matchup. So that's one of the unique things about this matchup. It's a home and home. So when it's at Alcorn Stadium don't hold but about 25,000. So you looking at a packed out stadium. The hills are full. The campus is full. Memorial Stadium in Jackson is like 60,000. You're looking at a good crowd. And there's some big names that they played in that matchup. I'm talking about, the last few years, rest in peace, Steve McNair in the 90s. He did his thing in that matchup. Jimmy Smith from Jackson State. And names go on and on. But this is a matchup that is typically the end of the season for both teams. And usually one team is going to be the spoiler for the other one. So for the last few years, Jackson has spoiled a couple Alcorn seasons because they come into this game. Sometimes they have the division already wrapped up. And sometimes they may, it don't really matter what they do as long as somebody else lose. And Jackson will knock them off. So this time, unfortunately, in the COVID season, we're not having this game. But in the fall, you looking at Deion Sanders and Jackson State against Fred McNair and Alcorn, the Braves and the Tigers. Man, now that's a game I really want to see. Hopefully, if Southern don't have a game, I might try to journey up there to check that out. Speaking of Southern and Louisiana, Bayou Classic, baby. Hey, the granddaddy of them all since 1974. New Orleans. 1 year in Houston in 2005 because of Katrina. This year because of COVID in Shreveport. But it don't change. North, South Louisiana. It's a lot of family in the mix. Everybody got a Grambling relative. There's families that have. This is all rivalries like this, but I'm speaking from my perspective on this one. You have Grambling family members, Southern family members. There's, Baton Rouge is the state capital, but a lot of Grambling people live here. Grambling has heavy roots in Baton Rouge. Eddie Robinson is from the area. Doug Williams is from the area. And it goes on and on. So this, you get together on Thanksgiving. You eat, you go to Battle of Bands on Friday, then you go to the game on Saturday. And the last 6-7 years, this has been the West Division championship game. Obviously, this year, that's not going to be the case. But for most years, and especially the last 4 or 5 years, the winner of this game won the division. Now, there was a couple of times that the winner had a decent lead, but there were a couple of winner-take-all games, and it don't get any better than that. Again, if you haven't been to the Bayou Classic when it's in New Orleans, it's something that you need to really check out because there's an atmosphere unlike any other. I mean, people come to town for the whole weekend, and it's Thanksgiving weekend, so, that's like a 3-day weekend for some people, maybe 4 days if you count Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But it's a big thing. The city is booming. There's blue and gold all over the place. There's black and gold everywhere. And then, that leads to, like every rivalry, 365, 64 days of trash talk until you hook up again. But it's truly a family affair. Now, some people like me, I like to separate the family from the game. So I just, I'm just a Jag and I just go with that. Much love to the Tigers. But when we play, it is what it is. Let's talk about another set of Tigers. These Maroon Tigers in the third ward of Texas. Houston, Texas. Texas Southern. Prairie View. The Labor Day Classic. So now you see we have a classic at the beginning of the year. There's mid-year classics. And there's end of the season classic. These two teams, again, no matter the sport, when they hook up, it's electric. Basketball is always off the chain. Texas Southern hasn't been that good in football recently, so Prairie View has the edge. But that was a while that Prairie View was really down, and Texas Southern had the edge. So this game kind of ebbs and flows depending on how high the one team is and how low the other one is. But it doesn't take anything away from it. This year's game was very exciting. Texas Southern only had a chance to win that game, and Snapper on the field losing streak of 14 or 15 games. But Prairie View ended up pulling it out. That's a game that I look forward to, when they play in the fall. And that's going to be another entertaining game. Now, let's move away from those type of rivalries to my favorite rivalry, Jackson State and Southern. These two programs, these two fan bases, they're very similar. Like somebody said before, they're both from the state capital of each respective state. They both very proud people. They both have very loud and talkative fan bases. And they don't have no problem with telling you how they feel. They both travel well. And so, when you play them and they play you, you're going to see their fans in your stadium. So you just have to be ready for that. If you're a fan that don't like visiting fans at your stadium, then these two teams aren't for you. If you like that and you like the trash talk, and it gets heated, but Southern has the edge now, and like in the mid '80s and early, late '70s and early '80s, mid '80s, Southern was on the downward part because Jackson State had a huge SWAC winning streak. Southern actually snapped that winning streak in '89 or '90. So Jackson State homecoming. The game was on BET. I was a very little kid. I remember that. But the mid '90s to the mid 2000s, this has been a game that was like the top dogs. 95, 96, 97, 98. Every year, one of those two teams won the SWAC. So no matter what the records of these teams are, when they play, it's always a good game. Whether the margin of victory is close or not, it's always going to be competitive. You're going to see a lot of talking on the field, very physical, and it's just heated because neither team wants to lose to the other one. An underrated rivalry for me is Grambling and Alcorn. That rivalry goes back to like Marino Castleman at Alcorn head coach and Eddie Robinson at Grambling. At one point, they used to play at the beginning of the season. I remember Steve McNair, torching Grambling on a bad ankle one year. I think that was his senior year. But, that Grambling was the only team to beat Alcorn and SWAC last year. So these kind of games, you get those good matchups, and they're not that far apart. So it's always a good game. Jackson, Alabama A&M is building up that way. They've been since A&M's been in the conference, there's been a lot of talking back and forth. The teams have played fairly even, and now obviously with Connell Manor and Deion Sanders, you're gonna have a very, very much heated atmosphere. I think Deion will probably not talk as much as Maynard does, because Maynard talks a lot of trash, cash money trash. But Dion, hey, that's prime time. He gonna do what he do, but he not gonna make no waves like that. But Maynard's definitely gonna bring that out of him, and that's something that you're gonna have to look at and enjoy. Jackson State and Grambling is a rivalry. It's kind of cool a little bit. I mean, that was a little bad blood because the year that Grambling didn't go there because their team was protesting, but that that led to like 3 or 4 home games for Jackson State through the SWAC rules, and Grambling won them all. So that didn't really sit well with nobody. Grambling and Prairie View State Fair Classic, that's a rivalry that for a long time Grambling won it. It was mainly just a rivalry for the sake of playing in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. But now that Prairie View's back up and competitive, they've been trading wins back and forth. I think Prairie View's won like 3 in a row now. So it's a game that you can't sleep on, because it used to be just, you're going to the State Fair in Dallas and that was that. But now you gotta go and watch your team represent, and you never know which team gonna come out of there with the victory. There's been high scoring games, there've been defensive games. 2 out of the last 3 games have been like under 20, 25 points. The winning team scored less than 25 points. So there's been, shootouts and all that. So it's an entertaining game. That's like an October game. Prairie View and Southern is an up and coming rivalry. Obviously for a long time Prairie View was down, so Southern never really, had any smoke with them. But now that Prairie View's come up, and Prairie View has a nice contingency of people from Louisiana and from Baton Rouge, so there's always going to be that undercurrent there. Southern people love to go to Texas, so that's something else that you can put together. And most of the games have been pretty fun. I remember in 2015 or 14 going to Blackshear Stadium, which was Prairie View's old stadium. That was the one and only time Southern went there, because for years Southern never played in Prairie View, but Southern went there and they beat them. Then the first year they played them in their new stadium, they beat them. And Southern, 2015, all Prairie View ruined Southern's homecoming. But Southern has won the last few games since then. But it's still a competitive atmosphere. It's a SWAC West Division matchup that goes a long way in deciding who's gonna win that West Division. Because when you take Grambling, Southern, and Prairie View, that triangle, the winner of that, whoever wins at least 2 of those games between the other 2 teams, is most likely going to be the one to win the division. So that's a matchup that I like. Pine Bluff and Valley, I've heard that that's a rivalry. I don't know a lot about it, but those teams aren't that far apart. They're kind of like the odd men out, because there's 4 teams, there's 5 teams in each division, and the other 2 have state rivals. So that kind of left them as the odd people out. But then they're travel partners in basketball, so they kind of fit together. They're in that upper north, southwest part of the country. That makes no sense, but they're in that area, so they kind of play. And sometimes those games are, those games can be entertaining, but Valley's out. Valley's never really consistently okay. Pine Bluff is up and down, but the last few games have not been, super blowouts. Last game this year was really close. They had a 48-45 double overtime matchup a couple years ago. So even though both teams are always in different states of their program, it's still an entertaining game. I guess you could say my third favorite rivalry is one that's going to be renewed now, because the FAMU is in the SWAC, but Southern and FAMU, it was at one point the longest running non-conference matchup between teams. And they played every year up until I think 2001 or 2. So they've played one-offs here and there. One MEAC SWAC challenge. I think they did like a slight home and home. And before everything was happening, they were in the midst of a home and home before FAMU joined the conference. So again, similar to Southern and Jackson, fan bases are very similar, very proud. Both have bands that they feel are the best in the world. Fans feel like their school and program is better than the other one. And there's a lot of talking back and forth. And FAMU has ruined some Southern seasons. But I love to see the Rattlers back on the schedule. And I'm really hyped to see them in the conference. And, Bethune-Cookman is a team that, they don't get a lot of shine, but they're a very consistent program, and, they load up on talent, so they're not coming empty-handed. And it's going to be exciting, and I look forward to these rivalries in the fall. If you want to let me know what your favorite rivalry is, or one that I might have skipped, because I kind of did the big ones to me, hit me in the comments and let me know what you think. Let me know what's your favorite rivalry. Let me know that team that you hate, even if they don't view you as a rival. That's probably somebody that you don't like, probably Southern, but that's fine too, because sometimes there's teams who have that one-sided thing where they don't like you, but you don't really feel any kind of way about them, and they want to bring you that smoke all the time. I feel like Southern and Pine Bluff is like that. Southern don't really have anything toward them, but I think Pine Bluff sometimes measures themselves against all the top teams, because they kind of up there in Arkansas, and they want to prove who they are and what they are. So being able to beat those kind of teams like a Southern or a Grambling goes a long way with their season. So if you wanna let me know that, let me know, man. If you wanna stick up for Valley and have me not go hard on them, hey, let me know that too. But again, I just wanted to drop this and talk about some rivalries, because this is basically rivalry week. Got the Bayou Classic this week, got Magic City Classic this week, and a huge Pine Bluff and Prairie View game. So, and we would have had Alcorn and Jackson, but Alcorn's not playing. So this is kind of rivalry week. So before I got into any kind of previews throughout the week, and do my Wednesday conference game preview, I wanted to just talk about some rivalries and just let people know out there who, getting into the SWAC stuff. This is what is going on. This is what we have. These are the teams that don't like each other. These are the teams that are just kind of competitive with each other. And these are our rivalries. So I'd like to thank you all for listening and watching. And we'll be back on Wednesday with our SWACtalk show on the podcast. And Thursday and Friday, we're going to drop a couple game previews and go from there. So hope everybody has a good week, and we'll see you later. We out.